All right, school is starting back up, and your child may be going in person, they may be doing it online, or a hybrid of both. Today, I interviewed Dr. Rebecca Good. She's going to share her tips on how to help your child stay engaged if they're doing online learning, how to socially distance, and how to make sure that you have the right supplies for in-school learning. And we're going to go ahead and get started right now. Hey everyone, my name is Nick Good. I'm your Dallas-Fort Worth real estate agent. And again, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, first off, thank you for watching. Second, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell. That way you'll get notified when we release new videos like this. And just like the title says, school is starting back up, and your child is probably starting one of three options. It's either in person, it's going to be online learning, or a hybrid of both. And so today I interviewed Dr. Rebecca Good. She's a superintendent, been an educator for 34 years. She's going to share some tips on how, one, to keep your child healthy, two, how to keep your child engaged if they're only doing online learning. That way, they don't go through that burnout. They retain that information, as well as when they're going back in person. What do you need? There's some great tips on there about masks. There's some great tips on there about social distancing. There's great tips on there on what you need to ask your school. So go ahead. This is a great interview. And if you happen to know anybody that's thinking about buying or selling, or maybe you yourself thinking about buying or selling, or maybe even refinancing your home, reach out to us. Let us know. We can help you. 972-215-7653. Or go to our website, thegoodhometeam.com. We're going to go ahead and get started with that interview right now. All right, today we're going to be joined with Dr. Rebecca Good. You may have heard of Dr. Rebecca Good. She's been on TV and radio stations around the area and across the country lately, talking about how to get our kids ready for school. So who better to bring on right now than Dr. Rebecca Good, who's been an education expert with more than 34 years in the public education space to talk to us about how to get ready for this crazy school year. Dr. Rebecca Good, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So I wanted to have this on. I wanted to have you on and talk to you and send this out to our people about there's a lot of decisions that parents have to make right now. One is, I know they're struggling. Should they be sending their kids back to school? Should they be doing online only learning? Should they be doing the hybrid? And once we cover some of that, tips for how do parents help their kids during this time, because we're all learning with them.
So the decision as to whether to send your child to school or to keep your child at home remote learning should be based on several factors. One is, how much has your school been communicating with you? Has your school sent home the reopening school plan? Have you looked at it? Have you reached out to the principal and asked questions around it? Because we know as school districts that we have to regain the trust of parents so that they feel comfortable sending their kids back, because they know that the administrators, the teachers there will be implementing the safety protocols that are written in the plan and are according to county health departments and the CDC. The other thing to take into consideration is, how healthy is your family? Are you a healthy family? You exercise, you eat pretty much whole foods, you don't have anybody in the family with comorbidities or an altered immune system. If you are a healthy family and your kids want to go back to school and your school has convinced you that they know what they're doing as far as keeping your kids as safe as possible, send them to school. That's the best place for them to learn. But if you have some of those other factors, that your child has asthma, or maybe you have grandparents living with you, somebody in the home has a compromised immune system, well, then you might want to remote learn with your child, and then that's a whole sort of different ballgame. If you want to remote learn, then there's other questions that you need to be asking your school. Is it asynchronous or synchronous learning that the kids will be doing at home? If you don't know those terms, then you've got some research to do. You need to reach out to the school and ask them about their instructional plan. How do they plan on making the information to engage your child more interesting than probably it was in the spring and in summer school, if your child went to summer school? Because everybody was doing this on the fly, starting in late March, right? We were building the plane while flying it, and some of us not doing as good a job as we could now months later. And so your question as parents needs to be, how are you going to make this remote instruction more engaging for my child? So those are huge questions and huge responsibilities on parents, really, because it's not just the school's job to prepare kids for school, it's also the parents' job. So, and let me go back to if you decide to have your child go to school, there's some things that you need to be doing now to prepare him or her for that first day of school. You need to be helping them build up their stamina to wear their mask for several hours. And you do that by having them put it on when they go outside the door, should be mask on, right? And washing their hands when they come back. Social distancing, all of those should not be terms or practices that the school is teaching for the first time when your child goes back. So that is a huge way that you can help your child feel like this type of school is becoming more normal. Much like bicycle safety helmets, I didn't grow up wearing them, and yet now you wouldn't think to put your child on a bicycle without a helmet. So we need to normalize the practices of mask wearing and hand washing and social distancing for the time being. And parents, we're relying on you to do that. With at-home instruction, what we need is for you to set a routine. Kids do better in a routine. Have them go to bed at the same time during the week, have them wake up at the same time during the weekdays, have them establish a routine, even if it's asynchronous learning, which asynchronous learning means that the teacher is not at the computer by a certain time every day. Asynchronous means that your child has all day, in Texas, up to 11:59 midnight to get their work in and be counted present. So establish a routine where your child goes online a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, and you touch base with the teacher. The teacher will have office hours so that there is a sense of school going on in your home. But we certainly want to encourage you to have brain breaks, have exercise breaks, recess, eat a good lunch where your child is helping you fix lunch, helping you put away the dishes, helping you with chores around the house. All of that needs to be part of their school day.
That's perfect. So with those tips for online learning, I'm assuming the asynchronous learning are we seeing some of the school districts where I know, like I believe McKinney is where our kids go to school, they're having to be, like normal class, right? At, I think it's whatever time, 8 a.m. They've got to be logged on into their computers and somewhat of a structured class scheduled. Are we seeing kids taking more? Are we seeing the schooling allowing more breaks in there for that mental fatigue? Or what are we starting to see that's becoming a more Texas accepted requirement?
So synchronous learning, which is where the kids sit in front of a computer at a certain time with the teacher, will require for grades 3 through 5, 160 minutes, I believe. And then for the secondary grades, it's 240 minutes during the course of the day. And so that's, let's say 3 hours for the secondary kids, broken up over time, because most secondary kids have 6 or 7 teachers. Now, they won't visit with 6 or 7 teachers every day in even synchronous learning. They will touch base with them, and when their teacher has an instructional moment that they need the kids to be there for, then they will require the kids to be there. Now, synchronous is a little tougher to take attendance in for most districts. So not all districts, matter of fact, very few districts are doing synchronous learning. In asynchronous learning, there's 3 ways that a district can get paid for students. And as you can imagine, getting paid for students for districts is important in this time. And so asynchronous, and here's the important part. First of all, one is if the student checks into the learning platform. That's one way of counting a kid as attended. Number 2, has had some sort of interaction with a teacher, could be over the phone, could be texting on instructional matters. And number 3 is that a child has turned in an assignment that day. Those 3 ways are ways that a school can count a kid as not absent, because that's important. The TEA, Texas Education Agency, has said that school COVID style is no more. They were very lenient. They took it easy on school districts and on families, but they said those days are now over. The truancy laws kick in as before COVID, and so grading policies, the same grading policies we had before COVID, are now back in place. And so no more can we do pass fail, no more can we do just lenient attempts at learning like we had in the COVID period. So we need parents to, even if they're remote learning with their child, to consider that this is a whole more intense ball game, and that they need to really make sure their kids are getting counted present.
And for parents that have elementary school age children, and once children start going back in person, right now I believe that's after Labor Day. How should the parents prepare their kids with materials? So, extra masks. I think I saw a comment that you made earlier today about writing their names in the mask, et cetera. How should these elementary parents who don't have the past experience of their kids going to school, what should they be prepared for to help their kids, most adapt to this?
First of all, they need to understand, and many parents will like the fact that supplies will not be shared. In the old days, you brought your supplies, they all went into a one pile, and then we all mutually community used the supplies. Well, now we need parents to make sure that all the supplies are in the backpack, in a pencil bag, and with names on the pencil bag and so forth, and on the lunch boxes, so that we can make sure kids don't intermingle their materials in their things, right? The lanyards, I suggest that parents buy lanyards that are breakaway, right? You can buy breakaway lanyards so that if they get tugged, they can be pulled and not choke. But sending your elementary child with a lanyard that's clipped to their face mask, so that when they can take their face mask off to eat, for example, the lanyard catches the face mask and it keeps track of it. And so that's another way of really keeping things safe and off the floor and from getting lost. Putting the names on the face mask is an excellent idea. And just making sure that kids understand the rules around hand washing and social distancing, by reminding kids that probably there's going to be things on the floor just like there are at the store. In our case, at our schools, we have paw prints because we're the wolves. And so we'll see what cute ways schools have of sort of making these safety practices more child friendly.
Perfect. And once children start going back, schools are going back in person, what are we seeing protocols? I know this may vary district to district, but what are we seeing protocols that would happen if there is an outbreak? I did see the Denton ISD superintendent who was saying, look, there's going to be an outbreak happen. We're just being best prepared for it. So is there a TEA, is there a universal policy in place for that, or is this varies district by district?
No, we have a lot of people who are telling us what to do. And so the practice that we've been asked to put into place is to have kids in cohorts. So for example, you have your daughter who will be with 11 or 12 kids in one room for the most part. Depends on the size of the classroom, but most classrooms will hold, with social distancing, about 11 to 12 kids with one adult. That one adult may be one of your child's teachers, but the rest of the teachers will be remote instructed in, even if the teacher's in the room next door, because that teacher has her own cohort. And so by having cohorts that stay together, they don't mingle with other cohorts, it means that if somebody in that group gets sick or has a family member that gets sick, we can send that cohort home for 14 days and not shut down the whole. And so that's a pretty accepted practice in Texas.
Perfect. Well, Dr. Rebecca Good, I truly appreciate that. Hopefully this was valuable for everyone. If someone wanted to reach out to you or follow you, I do know that you have a podcast. So where can people find you? Where can they listen to you? And please put that information out there.
I have the Ask Dr. Be Good podcast. There's on YouTube. I also have the Ask Dr. Be Good app that you can download to your phone. If you have a problem at school and the school is not helping you and you don't know what to do, reach out. I can help and be the one that maybe can help you understand the school rules that might lead to resolution on your issue.
Great. Thank you so much. Please tune in for our next video. We'll be sending that out. And if you love this, please respond back. And if you do know anybody that's thinking about buying or selling here in the near future, please reach out to us. You can call me at 972-215-7653, or you can go to our website, thegoodhometeam.com.